Hi, welcome to BizTalk. I am your host, Emily Galindo, and we are excited you're here today. At BizTalk, we talk about all things business related. We bring on experts in their field to help you, the business owner, the entrepreneur, have the best information, the best resources at your disposal to make your life a little bit easier and a little bit more efficient being able to run that business. And today we are extremely happy to have our guest today. He is a leadership expert, keynote speaker, executive consultant, and owns an executive coaching company, WSS Solutions. So to get all things executive going on, please welcome our guest, Sean Barnes.
Such a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Hey, thanks, Sean. We are excited to have you because it's not easy being a business owner.
No, not at all.
You know that because you are one.
I am.
And then you also work with businesses for every day, all day, and learn their struggles and what they've got going on. What do you think is the hardest thing for any business owner?
Oh man, honestly, it's probably the going through the lonely chapter whenever you start.
Okay.
Because it is extremely difficult to go out there and try to start something from scratch, to put your dent in the universe, just betting on yourself, not knowing if it's ever going to pay off or not. That's probably the most challenging aspect of it, because you have to learn everything. Whereas maybe you transition from corporate America, you were an IT professional or HR professional or in sales, and you knew your domain, you knew what to do there, but whenever you start a business, all of a sudden you have to learn sales and marketing and branding and service execution and on, and then leadership. I mean, all of a sudden, the thing that drove you away from your corporate job of not having control, in order to scale your business, you have to let go of control and let your people build.
That is a lot of that. I'm stressed hearing you say all of that because I do also know the struggle. But I'm with you. I've consulted with a lot of businesses myself. They love their thing. They love their widget. That's why, and they go into it because that's what they know. But they don't teach you business in dental school. They don't teach you business in plumbing school. They don't teach you how to do all of those other things. And the other thing I've learned is that people open their doors and they just expect customers to come. Is that how it works?
That's not how it works, but it's how we all think it's going to work.
Okay.
I'm guilty of this as well. Whenever I started my business, I had a pretty substantial following and network that I had built up over the years. And I had this idea of, oh, cool, I'm doing my own thing now. All of a sudden, customers are going to rain from the heavens. And it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. So what do we do? How do we, what we call client acquisition, right? Increase, like bringing in new customers. How do we do that? It's not just opening our doors. We've all had, I think, the experience of your friends and family, and they know you as Sean. They don't know you as the executive coach, right? So if opening our doors isn't it, then what is?
I've come to realize that there is no silver bullet whenever it comes to client acquisition. It's more like 1,000 golden BBs, because you have to build your brand, because nobody knows who you are, what you're about. Yes, friends and family do, but the likelihood that friends and family need exactly what you're offering when you need to sell it so that you can make payroll is pretty slim. So you have to focus on building your brand and putting yourself out there, whether it's social media, advertising. You have to get everyone to understand who you are and what you're about. So that's one component. Going to networking events and communities, another vitally important aspect of it. Meeting people in person so that they can build trust and understanding of who you are and what you're about. But once you meet people, once they recognize that you offer a service that they could benefit from or that they need, then all of a sudden you have to get them in the door. You have to onboard them as an official customer, move them through the process. And so whenever I think of client acquisition, there's marketing, there's branding, there's sales, there's all of these components. But once you close the deal, how are you moving them through the process? Are you welcoming them in, sending them an email, or picking up the phone and calling them, hey, this is what we're about, this is what the next steps are going to look like, and then staying in touch with them along the way until the project is completed. So that's a whole process that you're not taught in dental school, that you're not taught at many trade schools. And so this is another area where you just have to learn things as you go. And it's like, jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down type of a thing.
It really is. I mean, and I think that a lot of us, right, are focused on getting the client or getting the customer. Some of us are, I mean, you can trip into that and be successful at it. But then, I mean, even in our own business, like systematizing now what to do and how many things get dropped along the way. Like they didn't get the welcome email, or I didn't prioritize making the phone call, or, you know, your team member wasn't aware that these next step checklist things need to be done to create the experience that you want your customer to have, that you have in your head, but it is not actually delivered on a consistent basis. Because what ends up happening, I think at the back end of that, is either your customer had a good experience and they refer you, which is how we grow, or they have a bad experience and it breaks down your brand, right?
Yeah, and you know, service delivery is an important component to all of this. You can have the best sales team in the world, but if you can't consistently deliver a product that people want to buy again and again, then you're going to lose these customers. And if you're losing customers just as fast or faster than you bring them in, this churn that occurs, it can just be purgatory for a business owner and very difficult to break out of. And so understanding the strengths and weaknesses of yourself and how to combat those weaknesses is a key skill that any entrepreneur who's starting up or just building a business, you have got to know. I'm good at this thing, and the members of my team are good at this thing. How do we bring these together without butting heads and destroying each other so that we can keep moving things forward and delivering our product or service in a meaningful way that our customers want to come back?
Right, and you had touched on this in terms of delegating and the control aspect of running the business. I think we don't do enough delegation, right, in terms of, I know I'm not good at bookkeeping, and I would rather pay somebody to do it so that it's done well, it's done effectively, efficiently, that it's correct, and get them to do it for me because I know I'm not good at that. And your business will actually run a lot smoother instead of trying to learn it or...
Yeah, but you're also balancing cash flow in the beginning. Like, can I afford to offload this stuff? And so one of the things that I encourage business owners to do is just spend a little bit of time documenting where you spend your time. If you're spending 4 hours a day just doing back office function, ask yourself, is this directly generating revenue? If not, how can you offload some of that back office function so that you can go out and sell, so that you can go out and do more work or deliver your product or service? So it's about understanding the highest leverage use of your time while also balancing cash flow. Can I afford to do this? But an interesting unlock occurs when you do bite the bullet and delegate, and then you spend even more time selling. You're going to see the top line start to increase. And that's how you move the needle. But that is a scary idea for people to say, oh, well, I have to pay this other person, and what if they don't do it as good as I do? Well, you spend time coaching them. You spend time teaching them how it needs to be done.
And so when it comes to client acquisition in that process, so when you're working with a client and you're trying to unpack how they're getting their customers, or what area are you focusing on? Is it the fulfillment side and the onboarding side, or is it more of marketing and client acquisition on that front end side of the funnel?
Well, I think each business is unique, and while there's obviously common themes, whenever you think of client acquisition, we can think of big buckets. There's going to be the prospecting and the outreach side of it, and there's this big push to create content across social media. And yes, that is important for brand awareness of who you are, what you're all about, but that doesn't close deals. That's really more of a lead nurture avenue. So you can do cold outreach, warm outreach, you can start running paid ads, you can do affiliates, which is a little bit more challenging to kind of navigate through, but figuring out which avenue makes the most sense. And let's just say you start running paid ads, which is another scary thought. Like, what if I pay all this money and nobody clicks on the link? Well, you're going to learn what they do or don't engage with, but once they click on the link, all of a sudden somebody comes into your CRM or however you're tracking or managing these leads, and then you pick up the phone and call them. Hey, you just submitted a request on this. How can I support you? Type of a thing. So once you have that first contact, picking up the phone, calling them warm and inviting, making sure they connect with you on a human level, that kind of warms them up and kind of gets you to start moving through the process of it. But having all those systems, I just mentioned a CRM, paid ads, these are things that a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, they're not familiar with, and anything we're not familiar with can tend to be a little bit scary at times. But that's what you got to do. You got to start exploring, you got to start learning.
And hopefully, and have somebody like you at WSS Solutions to help us kind of guide that so that it's not quite, while you say, yes, cash flow is an issue on the front end, I can assure you learning some of those mistakes, especially in paid ads, can become a more expensive lesson to learn than it would be hiring somebody like you on the front end and getting the expertise up the front so that I don't have to learn the expensive lesson.
Yeah, and the thing that's very challenging about this is you can throw a stick at whatever city you're in and find somebody who's a marketing expert. But do they really know what to do, what levers to pull, how to attract, how to capture their attention and get them flowing through the system? That's an unknown variable for a lot of business owners to try to figure out, okay, well, this is a great salesperson, but do they actually know what they're doing? And I've heard countless horror stories from entrepreneurs. We paid this marketing firm thousands of dollars over 6 months, and all they kept saying is, give it time, give it time, give it time. Anybody that you work with, they should have a pretty good grasp on how to identify key metrics, like what you want to look for, what are your click-through rates, what are the conversion rates. They should be able to track those metrics and tell you bi-weekly, weekly, month over month, this is what's working well, this is what's not working well. If they tell you, give it time, you probably want to start searching for someone else to help you in that space.
All right, well, that's some great feedback right now in terms of what to look for. We would stick around with us and come right back. We'll hear more from Sean on what to do and not to do in learning to bring in new customers. We'll be right back.